So I don't know how many people actually watched the Tesla Semi live stream tonight, but it was pretty interesting. A lot of people I don't think really understand how amazing it actually was, to be honest with you. I know people like to clap when they see Cybertruck and they find out that it can float, become a boat, it's bulletproof, and it does all this other crazy shit. But what they accomplished tonight just absolutely annihilated all of their competition. Even though they already annihilated them, it's even worse. It's kind of like before they were down in the hole, and now they just lowered the casket and they're throwing some dirt on it at this point. Because what they just unveiled, for those of you who didn't watch it, they delivered the Semi to, they delivered both the Pepsi and Frito-Lay semis to Pepsi. Pepsi owns Frito-Lay. And what happened was they actually showed evidence of what they accomplished. Their test runs consisted of actually driving 500 miles without charging. They charged the first time and then they drove 500 solid miles while pulling 81,000 pounds. 500 miles while pulling 81,000 pounds. That's insane. That's bigger than anything that a diesel truck can do. And on top of it, what's really interesting to me that people aren't really paying attention to these little things that really matter is the fact that the Semi can actually be driven. It feels like a normal car. It doesn't feel like a Semi. I actually got to drive a rig a couple of times because my friend drives them. But let me tell you something. I have not driven a Semi yet, but from what I'm seeing and from what I hear is that it drives exactly more like a normal truck or car than it does a Semi. Obviously, that's without a load on it. Let's get real. It's going to be a lot different trying to maneuver, backing up and everything with the load. But as far as a Semi itself is concerned, it drives like a vehicle. And what's awesome about this is you can actually stand up. I believe they were saying 6 foot tall. You can stand up in the cabin. That is freaking crazy, man. As if just sitting in the center wasn't cool enough. On top of it, another great feature, kind of like how we have auto park and auto drive on our Teslas, the Tesla Semi also has auto drive and auto park, but it has an auto lineup to attach all the actual load that you're carrying, which is really freaking amazing because usually you got to kind of try to line it up and shit, kind of like a trailer hitch. But now it auto lines up and then you can connect. And what was even cooler is they showed them disconnecting and connecting in less than 30 seconds. Literally, they parked, they grabbed it, boom, grabbed it, twist, they undid the electrical and the connectors that quickly and took off. That was it. That's insane. You understand like how amazing that is to be able to take a load 500 miles on one charge, detach it in less than 30 seconds, and actually have the feeling and luxury to sit in the center of such a gigantic freaking automobile, but also drive like an actual car instead of feeling like a rig. It's really amazing what they accomplished. Again, there's so much that I'm going to dissect here tonight that a lot of people didn't really fully understand just how amazing some of this stuff was. But what some of the other things that they did was he introduced the version 4 supercharger. Now the version 4 supercharger will actually charge the Semi in 30 minutes from 20% to 90%. But he also stated that they are going to include the version 4 supercharger infrastructure into the Cybertruck. Yeah, they talked about the Cybertruck tonight, which was even more interesting. And this actually means that you'll actually go from charging, like my car charges, 20% to 90% in 25 to 28 minutes. It depends on how many people are charging, but usually around 25 minutes. It'll be able to cut that in less than half, meaning the Cybertruck will be able to charge from 20% to 90% in 10 minutes. This is fucking insane. I know a lot of people truly don't understand how amazing this is and the amount of engineering and genius that went into being able to do something like this. You have to understand the superchargers now, right? The cable's roughly about this thick, and they have a cable inside that liquid cools all the copper and everything internally and inside of the wiring. And this is because of how much current is being sent through it. It would obviously overheat and catch on fire if it wasn't cooled. But you have to remember, this new system basically adds, I believe it's 0.4 of a millimeter. I think it's like less than half a millimeter in diameter, which is absolutely insane. But it also has 2 cooling wiring channels in it because it's so quickly done. But what's amazing to me is now they have the tabless battery cells. And by having the tabless battery cells, this means that you can now supercharge, charge rapidly, charge fast, without actually overheating the power cells and affecting the longevity or the lifespan of the battery packs themselves, which is what currently happens if you supercharge too much. Because when you supercharge, it creates a lot of heat, and that heat expands all the atoms and everything too quickly, and it burns out the cells, and it affects the longevity. I believe it's nothing dramatic, but I think it takes anywhere from 1 to 2. If you do it on a consistent basis right now with the version 3, the tabbed battery cells, I believe it's roughly 1 to 2% is affected per year. And that's based on 12 to 15,000 miles. So if you think about it, it's not that bad. By the time you get to 100,000 miles, it's roughly affecting it by 10%. And by the time it gets dramatic into the 15-20% range, you'll probably want to replace your battery pack anyways. But with these new battery packs, they're talking about going 200,000-300,000 miles before they need to be replaced. And remember, they're now tabless, meaning, again, when you supercharge, the heat does not affect the longevity, the lifespan of these cells. So when you take that into account with this new version 4 supercharger, this is a huge freaking deal. Again, leaps and bounds ahead of everybody at this point, because now they have these 2 cooling channels inside this cable that is now, I want to say 0.4 millimeters thicker in diameter than the standard supercharger cable. But what happens is now, again, when they incorporate this into the Cybertruck, which is what they were talking about tonight, you're talking about charging in 10 minutes from 20% to 90%. 10 minutes. That is a huge deal for consumers, because one of the biggest complaints from consumers about switching over to EVs is the fact that it takes too long to charge. They don't want to sit there for 25 minutes. And we won't even get into the fact that, like, when I charge, we usually go get something to eat. I rarely ever use superchargers. I have the wall connector here. It takes about 6 hours. And obviously they're probably going to come out with the version 4 of it as well when the Cybertruck comes out, meaning we'll probably cut that time down to about 3 hours, anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours to charge at home with that as well. And I believe it more than likely, from what I'm seeing with the superchargers, the amperage isn't changing. So I'm assuming they could probably implement something very similar into a newer version of the wall connector and probably run it off 60 amps, and we'll probably bring it down to, let's just say, even 4 hours. Let's say worst case, it drops it from 6 to 4 hours. You imagine charging from 20% to 90% in your household in 4 hours. That is insane. Again, I rarely ever use superchargers. My Model 3 Performance, which is, obviously it goes further than the basic model, but not as far as the long range, because it's a sports car, right? Essentially, it's just a luxury sports car. So, it burns through it. If I floor it a lot, which I do, I replace my tires every 10,000 miles, because it's, again, a sports car. People always complain about the pricing and stuff. They always have to replace the tires. Oh, the drive and feeling the road and stuff with low profile tires. Again, it's a luxury sports car. If you wanted something more comfortable where you don't have to replace the tires as much, then you would just get the standard or the long range, the extended range model. You don't get something like a luxury sports car. I like to go fast. That's why I got that. And that's more than likely why I will get the tri or quad motor of the Cybertruck, because even though I have 2 Cybertrucks pre-ordered, I still like to go fast. So I'm still going to have to get one of the higher end Cybertrucks. But with that said, the revolutionariness, I'm going to start creating words here, of this version 4 supercharger. Again, to charge in 10 minutes. You have to understand, on an average basis, it usually takes somebody roughly anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to fill up from, let's say, a quarter of a tank to full. And that's how much time they're spending at a fuel station, anywhere from 2.5 to 5 minutes. So at this point, they've gotten it down, at least with the Cybertruck. They haven't talked about incorporating this, but I'm sure the version 4 infrastructure will be incorporated into the 3, the Y, the S, the X, and the Roadster. Obviously, I guarantee the Roadster will have it if the Cybertruck has it. But the infrastructure on this is going to be insane. But thinking about it, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, my brain goes a million miles a second. It may actually not. This may be subjective to the Cybertruck, because you have to use a level 4 supercharger, now that I'm thinking about it. And the level 4 superchargers, as of right now, will only be in places for the Semi to charge, meaning you'll have to use the Cybertruck at one of the Semi supercharging spots. They didn't talk about this, but now I'm already, you'll get it. They'll talk about it 3 months from now. Don't worry. I'm always ahead of them. So now that I'm thinking about it, that's more than likely what will happen. So maybe it won't, actually, maybe it will not be available on the 3Y, S, or X, or Roadster, to be honest with you. Maybe in the future, when they update all of the current basic version 3 superchargers that you see everywhere now, when they upgrade those to the version 4, they might start implementing that. This may be subjective only to the trucks, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, that's badass. Now it's not just Tesla privilege. Now it's Tesla Cybertruck privilege. Now you have more privilege over over other Teslas minus the Semi. But that might get interesting, because if I ever go somewhere, which granted the Cybertrucks are also supposed to go 500 miles. It's all, see how the variables are all lining up now in my head. It's also supposed to go roughly 500 miles on the tri and quad motor. So where would you ever really use that for? I mean, obviously, if you're towing somewhere, like if you tow vehicles and stuff and transport, makes sense. But realistically, like the only place I really supercharge is like when I'm going to Disney or something, or I go to South Florida. But if I'm driving 500 miles on a charge, I'll probably rarely ever use a supercharger to begin with. But that means I would have to stop and take up somebody who wants to use a semi to charge. Granted, they can charge those semis in 30 minutes. Okay, 500 miles, pulling 81,000 pounds, and it charges in 30 minutes. And it comes with a charging connector for their household or for wherever. A lot of people have rigs near their houses. That's why I say household. People that own their rigs, individuals that drive for themselves. Well, you'll see them parked, in people's yards and stuff all the time, their rigs. So that's why I was saying that. But they're included, which is something that they took away from the 3Y, S, and X. Whether or not the Roadster and Cybertruck it will be included as well are yet to be seen, but I'm going to assume that the truck line is the truck line. So let's just assume Semi and Cybertruck are going to fall into the same category. It'll also include one, but that'll be the basic one, which means you'll have to upgrade to the 220 volt in order to cut the time in half and then get the version 4 wall connector to cut the time in half again. So that's just the basics of the Tesla. But as far as I'm concerned, so basically what's going to happen is you're going to have to take 10 minutes out of somebody driving a rig's time, take their charger on the version 4 to charge in 10 minutes. But you're only taking 10 minutes and they're only taking 30. It's not that big of a deal, let's be honest. But now, like I said, now that I think about it, looking at some of the pictures that I did post some of them in here, if you go to the Tesla section, it actually shows the spot for the rigs to park. It has the outline. Oh, I should be going this way, right? Yeah, vertical. So it actually kind of shows this outline for them to park the rig, but it also shows a Cybertruck line within it to park the Cybertruck as well. There you go. We just figured it out while streaming. Like I said, my brain just goes. I'm thinking in the background while I talk. That's why I talk weird. I have like 6 things that go on at a time in my head. So that'll be really interesting because I can't wait to see what happens with the semis getting pissed at the Cybertrucks for the Cybertrucks taking a whole 10 minutes out of the day. But let's get real. 25 minutes in the car now isn't even bad. And that's rare occasions that I even do that to begin with because I charge at home and I use solar. But when you do it for 25 minutes to go from 20 to 90% in my 3 performance, we have movies, we have games, we're getting food. It's always something. So it doesn't. I'd actually prefer the 25 minutes. I gotta be honest with you. It gives me time to eat and do what I want to do. If I have 10 minutes, that means that's just like basically double the time as filling up a car. That means I got about enough time to use the restroom, grab some food and run out as fast as I can. I don't have time to eat it. I don't have time to watch an episode of a show. I don't have time to play video games with the person I'm riding with. There's not much to do. I kind of got into this habit whenever we supercharge that we're having, it's like a little fun 25 minutes there. I guess that's out the window. But it's really interesting because now we're talking about 10 minutes to charge the Cybertruck. Let's just talk about the Cybertruck for a minute. In comparison to the Hummer EV, which they can only put out 100 a year, already trash. It barely, it goes about it's kind of about the travel span of a real Hummer. And I know somebody that has it and they took it to what GM calls rapid charging. It's their version. I still consider that's their fastest form of charging that they offer. And it took over 2 hours. I believe he said it was 2 hours and 6 minutes, 2 hours and 4 minutes. We'll call it 2 hours and 4 minutes. I'll give you let's just round it down to 2 hours to be nice. 2 hours to charge the Hummer EV. The Cybertruck is charging in 10 minutes at their fastest charging location. The version 4 supercharger. Do you see how devastating this is to these companies at this point? So these people are fighting Ford, Porsche, GM, VW. I always want to go Volkswagen because it's German, but they're fighting. Their goal by 2030 is to have charging stations that can charge their vehicles, their EVs, between 45 minutes and 60 minutes. You understand that? Struggling. 7 years. It's almost 2023. Like I said, I'm trying to give them. I give them the low end. Try to help them out. I'm a nice guy. Fuck them, but I'm a nice guy, right? Tesla to Mars. Fuck everybody else, but I'll still help them out the best I can. So they're struggling by 2030 to get to the 45-minute mark on their charging. You understand right now, Tesla's Cybertruck version 4 supercharger, 10 minutes. By 2030, can you imagine what version 5? We'll be on version 6 by then, honestly, because every 2 to 3, we'll round up. We'll make Tesla look bad and everybody else look their best. And we'll make Tesla look their worst, and it's still a shit show for their competition. So let's just say every 5 years, even though it's every 3, but every 5 years is a new version. Let's just say that. Okay, so by 2030, we're roughly looking at the possibility of being at version 6. Okay, forget it. Let's just say version 5. Let's go even lower again. Version 5 supercharging stations for the Tesla 2030. Okay, let's say all their competition is figure out how to get it to 45 minutes. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just say they hit the jackpot and they hit a goal of 30 minutes, even though we're now down to 10 minutes with Tesla coming up next year. But let's just say they hit the magnificent goal of 30. See how nice I am to them? I'm not a fanboy. I try to be as good as nice as possible. So let's bring them down to 30 minutes by 2030 on their superchargers. Okay, they call it rapid charging, superchargers. Do you understand by version 5? That's just the next version. Let's just say it takes them 7 years to create 2 more versions, one version, which it won't. It'll be 2 versions. But you understand, a version 5, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 minutes. Let's go nuts. 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes by 2030 to charge a Tesla. We're 30 minutes for their competition, which means 3 to 5 minutes. So that means by 2030, Tesla will be able to charge their vehicles, in theory, theoretically speaking, in the same amount of time or less than it takes to fill up your tank at the fuel station. This is the biggest complaint. People still don't to me, you gotta understand, this is why I'm talking. I'm actually so excited about this because the amount of engineering and the brilliance behind what they just accomplished. Fuck the semi. Forget the semi for a second. The version 4 superchargers was the gold mine of tonight and nobody cheered. They paused even. There was 2 people clapping and they paused. They're like, really? That's it? I'm like, what the fuck? That's incredible. Are you kidding me? That means the Cybertruck will charge at a supercharger in 10 minutes. Do you understand how insane that is? And it won't affect the longevity because it's going to use the battery cells that are tabless battery cells, which means it won't overheat as much, which means it won't affect the longevity as much of the battery cells. And you'll charge in 10 minutes. This is insane, the amount of engineering in this, to the point that the cable, you would think something like that on an engineering, more intellectual perspective, you would go from a charging cable. I want to show you the diameter. I'm not going to tell, because most people, I tell them diameter, they're like, what the hell size? They'll go Google it. But right now, if you go to the supercharger, version 3 is about that thick, right? That means it's only increased to version 4 to charge in 10 minutes versus the previous 25 minutes, that much. See that movement? That's it. That's how much was added to it. And it was basically the structure now, instead of one fatter cable taking the copper and transferring the electrical current, now has 2, and then on top of it also has 2 channels for liquid cooling. I'm trying to show you this. I got pictures which would help, but I can't. I need an editor as I talk, like all these podcasters have. I use fingers, and this is not like the racist. I don't know. People said this is a racist thing or something. I don't know what that is. This I'm just trying to show you the size diameter of my hands. I wish I had something more like this. This is kind of more what it looks like now. It's more like the size of the Fiji cap. If you opened up one of the cables at the superchargers, it's just a little slightly bigger than that, and that's handling all of the copper. But there's, I believe, is there 1 or 2? I believe there's. I actually believe there is 2, and then the version 4 has 3 with 2 cooling channels, if I remember the schematic correctly. Now that I'm looking at it, 1 and 2. No, I was right before. 2 cooling channels. 3 carried channels for the current and 2 and 1. Let me double check my brain. I'm like half asleep. You got to give me. I believe that's about right. Wasn't that what it was? Yeah. The previous was one fat system, right? And it had the conductors, which is copper usually. Okay. And now there's 2 separate channels, which contain the HV conductors, which is a high voltage, and it's immersed in coolant, and it has 2 returns on the coolant, which touches the other 2. So there's 4 now. So instead of one fat thing with 2 cooling channels kind of touching it, the cooling channels are the same. That's kind of interesting. Sorry, I'm looking at the schematic again. That's actually very interesting. So basically, they created 2 channels that are a little big, and it kind of increases. So it's basically increasing the amount of high voltage conductors by almost twice. It's actually more than twice. The amps increase from, let's say 14 to 35. megawatts. Oh, that's actually more interesting than I thought. Sorry, I pulled up the schematic. It's actually kind of cool. And there's actually a lot of free room in the cable, which is probably why it doesn't do that as much. That's really interesting. So, okay, so it actually still uses the same two cooling channels. They just have more space. So it can probably help with the surrounding air and cooling that down as well. That's kind of interesting. Sorry, I'm now immersed in the schematic. Okay, so anyways, getting back to what we were talking about. So this allows less heat, obviously, because it would obviously melt if it didn't have cooling channels. So this is really interesting. So now instead of just the whole fat cable filled with two cooling channels going between it, it now has these two littler channels and then two cooling channels vertically, and essentially they are tighter, more wrapped, and more efficient. That's really interesting how they did that, and it only increases it by roughly 0.4 millimeters in diameter. That's pretty interesting. Do you understand? Like, my mind is just mind boggled right now with this information because it's brilliant. The genius in engineering in this is insane. So again, we're talking about the competition struggling to hit 30 minutes on their rapid charging versus Tesla's supercharging at 10 minutes is where they're at right now. That's insane. That's insane. That's mean we're going to charge by 2030. We're going to be in and out of charging at a supercharger faster than as fast, if not faster, than what people will be charging at fuel stations. And that's the number one consumer complaint is how long it takes to charge at that station. But a lot of the problem with these consumers, they don't understand they can upgrade their 120 volt to a 240 volt, boom, for less than $50. And mine charged with that, the Model 3 Performance, from 20 to 90%, well, 20, I've never gone to 20, but the lowest I've ever gone, I think, is 30, so I should say 30 to 90%. But in theory, I added the math. If it was the extra 10%, I added it. So in theory, mine would have charged from 20% to 90%. With that, it would have charged 8 hours instead of at 120 volt taking 24 hours. So that's a major difference. And then you have the wall connector for $400, which has a tax credit. I actually buy one every year and they're free because it's a tax credit. So I get the money right back. And I give them out as gifts. Now that I think about it, damn, that's a good gift. Last year I gave one out as a gift. This year I gave one out as a gift to my mom and her boyfriend. They live together, and I have a Tesla. My brother has a Tesla. Her boyfriend's son has the Y. They have the basic models. Mine's the performance. So it's like when they get in it, they're like, God damn it, I should have upgraded because it's so much different. But so I thought it would be nice to give it to them and get it installed. So this way, everybody who comes over, you're talking about 3 vehicles that go over there, can charge. And so I got them one as well, even though it was free. We don't tell them that. We just let them think it was a great gift. Okay. I'm sure anybody on here would take one for free if I gave them to one anyways. But it's amazing to me. We had 10 minutes. God, I can't wait for this Cybertruck. So the Cybertruck, fuck the Semi. I'm not even talking about the Semi. That's what this was about. Forget the Semi. The Cybertruck is now bulletproof, functions as a boat as long as there's not strong current, okay? And on top of it, it charges in 10 fucking minutes. Has built-in air compression system in the back. Has built-in 120 and 240 volt outlets in the back. They're doing a full adult size EV quad to put in the bed. I mean, who the shit? Why would you want anything else, dude? I'm sorry, but and it's also, to me anyways, I know a lot of people opinions vary on the look of it, but you gotta understand the look of it to me is gorgeous, because you gotta understand in my brain, when I'm driving, I like my brain kind of envisions everything that's going on. Like if I'm in a fuel injected car, it envisions the camshaft, the pistons, everything in the crankshafts and everything moving in my head. And as you go faster, it moves. So my brain is always doing weird shit like that. It's always picturing everything that's moving on an engineering standpoint. So for me, my OCD and Teslas, it's the most calming fucking thing for my brain. See, people want the speedometer, right? Which they have they actually offer them in the X's and the S's and the Roadster. I hate them. That's why one of the 3 reasons, it's odd. There's 3 reasons why I chose the 3 Performance over the S or S Plaid. And one of them was not having the speedometer that display right in front of you, because my OCD, oh my fucking God, I love it. Just having the display here. And you think it's odd. I know people are like, oh yeah, but how hard is that to see everything? It's really not. Honestly, once you get used to it, if you take like a couple hours out the second you get a Tesla, dude, it is so much easier. And on top of it, we have dictation in the car. We hold the button on the steering wheel and we say, if you say I'm cold, it sends it 2 degrees higher. If you say I'm hot, it sends it 2 degrees cooler. And you can control everything with dictation. But even so, everything, you can see it all perfectly. And on top of it, if you hit a blinker, it uses the camera on the side to show you. So you don't even have to look. So I don't ever use the side mirrors because it shows me the side of the car and behind me whenever I choose the blinker on which side. But everything is boom, 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 click. I don't even look at it half the time. I just kind of do it, So it is easier. And the dash, my OCD loves it because there is nothing. It is just clean and a display in the center, and it is so clean. I just kind of wish in the future that there's a full self-drive. I don't ever really use it, even though I have it. That will put the steering wheel into the dash, so you don't even see the steering wheel, kind of. I believe that happens in Demolition Man is where I got that from. That's the only thing that would make my OCD even happier. So I like the fact that it doesn't exist. And honestly, it really is pointless. Once you get used to it, I've had mine for a year now. I fucking love it more than having that ugly gauge cluster, honestly. I really do. I'll be upset if they change the design last minute and add it to the Cybertruck. I probably won't get I'll probably be like really debating if I even want the Cybertruck at that point. I got so used to not having a gauge cluster in it. I love it so much. It's awesome. But so yeah, so this is big. This is the big deal with the competition. So the competition can't even get it down to an hour at this point. They're fighting 2 hours. Let's hope they can get to 30 minutes by 2030. That's their goal, and we'll be at 2.5 to 5 minutes with the Tesla. It's a joke, man. It really is. And again, that's the number one consumer complaint is the amount of time it takes to charge. But realistically, they don't even understand. I don't think by putting the wall connector. When are they ever going to do it? They bring their car home, they charge within 6 hours with the wall connector. You can go from 20 to 90%. Within 6 hours at 60 amps right now. That means by the time, even if you come home at 11 o'clock at night, plug the car in, and leave at 5 or 6 in the morning, let's just say craziest scenario, you're a doctor or something, okay? Your car is fully charged, man. And you're not even going to be you're not going to drain it anyways. Let's get real. What are you commuting from like Orlando to Miami? Like shit, bro. 95, let's just say there's roughly 5% is what I'm calculating, people that actually do use it like that for commuting. But by the time you get home, you're going to be almost fully charged anyways by the time you wake up. So I think people really don't understand that with it. So it's kind of crazy to me. But now we're talking about the version 4, and the amount of engineering is just unbelievable. I can't say this enough. Like if I was there, I'd probably be the only one clapping for the version 4 supercharger more so than anything else. When I heard that, I was like, holy shit. Like that's for the market, that's revolutionary because again, that's the number one consumer complaint. And Elon, clever as shit, also touched on some of the other complaints without saying they were complaints. So he talked about the new superchargers, the stations, and the ones that they've been opening. We've talked about this already. I've already talked about it months ago. But basically, just to recap, they are solar powered or wind powered. And Tesla has their own system now that sits, they've always had one, but these are much larger. It's almost like there's like 10 to 20 of them at a time. And it's what stores all the electric, okay, in layman terms. So the solar charges, fills up these battery packs. It's almost, for comparison, it's almost like having the power walls for your Tesla solar panels. I'm pointing at my roof because I have solar panels. And I'm pointing at the garage because I have one. So it's almost the equivalent of that. So it fills that up and charges, and that's what it uses. So it's not going to be heavy on the grid, okay? Because this is, as people were bitching about, oh, the grid's going to get locked up and shut down, blah, blah, blah. But you got to remember, things like this, it won't because they're using solar power, using wind energy, at least in Florida, California, and Hawaii. But I'm going to speak more on Florida because this is where I'm from. I see it firsthand. I live in a community that has right now 400 and some houses in it. Our gated neighborhood has a little over 400 houses. More than 80% of them have solar panels. Again, this is my neighborhood. But if you go into lesser neighborhoods, there's about, I want to say, 35% of them use solar panels. There's literally in Florida, there's more than 30 solar power communities, if you've ever seen these, fully ran off of solar power. All the houses are solar powered, all the parks are solar powered, all the lights, street lights, everything in them are solar powered. Everything is completely off the grid in these neighborhoods. Even the water, they're using their own water, and they have water softeners. They also have, I don't know, I want to know how they did this though. They have internet that they also claim will not go out in any circumstance, even during hurricane. And all these houses in these neighborhoods are considered to be 100% hurricane proof, which is interesting because the internet is where it gets interesting because it's not satellite related because it would work half the time. We would get rain like 75% of our fucking year here. If it ever got below 20 degrees, it would be snow. It would be 20 feet of snow here. And everybody would die, let's get real, because everybody would be crashing because nobody knows how to drive on an icy road. I'm from upstate New York, so I know how it is. But I'm kind of curious how they're getting their internet not to go out during the hurricane, because the internet, at any given point, you can get to a part in the system that's above ground or the hub, and the power goes out there. It affects the internet. So I don't know how they're doing that. I'm really curious to know how they are. I've contacted them, and I just told them, I'm interested in buying a house in your community, but I'm kind of curious with this guarantee of nothing ever going out. How is your internet working without being satellite based? Because it wouldn't work anyways during the hurricane because of the clouds, and the rain. So that's kind of interesting. But yes, there are tons of people. Florida is more than 35% using solar at this point. We are heavily using solar here. I know Hawaii uses a lot of solar. California is starting to use a lot of solar. I'm not going to get into California. We're going to skip that this time. But so it's not as grid locked up as you think. So my car always charges on solar. I don't use grid energy. And just so you all are aware, a lot of people don't understand this either. People who have solar panels, we sell our electric back to the company. So Duke Energy every month sends me a check because I sell them any extra power. So what happens is my power wall will fill up. Once it's completely full, anything extra gets sent to Duke Energy. Duke Energy then pays me, and then they provide clean energy. So not only am I not taking power away from the grid with my EV, not only am I not taking power from anywhere in my house off the grid, but I'm actually contributing power back to the grid. And there's a lot of people doing this. Now, I'm not going to say there's like 30% of the people who have, let's say 35% of, let's just say 35%, let's round it down. Let's say 30% of Florida is using solar. Okay. And I would say probably not even half of them know that they can sell their solar back to the electric companies. But if they did, think about what that's doing for the grid. We're taking energy, we're not using energy from the grid, and we're contributing energy to the grid. Clean energy, mind you. This argument is very minute. This argument falls dead on its heels and dead in its tracks. The argument of how it would affect the grid, I can shut it down in a heartbeat with this. Now, of course, you can argue, well, what happens outside of Florida? Well, there you go. This is where Elon Musk and Tesla come in. Their new superchargers, solar-powered, wind-powered. Now, of course, it is still hooked up to the grid for emergency scenarios, meaning should there be clouds for 3 days or no wind for 3 days, or it's completely full 24/7 and it's 4 o'clock in the morning and it runs out of all of the stored energy. Well, then it would take energy from that grid. But they are also going to, I guarantee you, they're also going to be doing the same thing I and many people like myself are doing. And any excess energy that is stored from clean energy will be sold back to the electric company. So reducing energy usage, for me, non-existent, but also contributing clean energy back to the grid. Are we starting to see this? So I just want to clarify a lot of that stuff as well, because there's a lot of misinformation, and I can give you the clarity on this and how it works. I have a very mathematical mind, I guess you can put it that way. So when you think about, that's the chair, not me. On that. See, there we go. Okay. That'd be the weirdest fart I've ever heard. So with that said, absolutely amazing night. And it only went on for like 15 minutes. More so than the Semi revolutionized everything tonight. Again, for those of you, let's recap real quick. 500 miles while pulling 81,000 pounds on a single charge. Fucking insane. Okay, let's not even talk about the fact that a 6 foot tall person can stand up in the cabin. It's got a frunk for storage. You can charge it in 30 minutes. 500 miles on a single charge while pulling 81,000 miles. And they tested the system, the all-wheel drive system, in snow, flooring it in snow, in rain. I mean, it's revolutionary just to the semi industry. But the bigger thing, again, version 4 superchargers for the semi and for the Cybertruck, charging 20 to 90% in 10 minutes. If you don't understand that Tesla has no fucking competition at this point for the next 10 years, I don't know how else to put it. I really don't. We're not even going to get into Optimus and the robotic industry. We're not even going to get into the fact that they are an insurance company. So if you own a Tesla, they just added another state. Florida is next on the list. We were supposed to get it. I was so excited. We were supposed to get it by Christmas. I don't know if we are at this point. But this means that our insurance for the Teslas are a fraction of the cost. I believe right now I do it every 6 months. I pay the premium because I get a discount. If you have a Tesla with Progressive, you also can get what's called a smart reduction. It basically means if you have like a Tesla which has self-driving and self-brakes, or if a car's about to hit you and it self-maneuvers and shit like that, they reduce it even more. Even with that, I go like 160 miles in this thing all the time. Like, I've been pulled over. The cops don't give me a ticket. They just love the car because I used to race for money. I used to make a lot of money when I was younger on tracks, not quarter-mile bullshit, real racing. But usually they pull me over and they just ask about the car because they thought it was awesome. And usually I do it in the middle of the night. When I'm doing this shit, it's like at 2 a.m. There's nobody around. The car makes no noise. It's not disturbing anybody. He goes, I clocked you going over 150, and it took him like 15 minutes to catch up to me. I didn't say anything because I'm not going to admit to anything because I very well know how the radar guns work. The system, the way it works is if you are accelerating as fast as this car can accelerate, or if you brake, it can't read a speed. It can only tell a consistent speed. So if an object is moving between roughly 1 to 2 miles, give or take, that's the only way it can tell how fast you're going. If you floor a Tesla, it won't read it. It won't pick up anything. If you see a radar gun and you see it before he clicks that button and you start braking quickly, it will show nothing until you settle the car back down or the object. Give it more of it's constant variable. And that's how it reads and determines the speed of an object, moving object. So it couldn't pick it up anyway. So unless I admit to it, it's not going to matter. But I mean, seeing the car go that fast, they could have bring me into judge and the judge would be like, well, no, I can see you're going really fast. Then it would turn into a whole argument. But I've never been given a ticket. I've only been pulled over twice. They both just wanted to see the car and love the car because I only do this shit in the middle of the night when nobody else is out. I put it in track mode. I do drifting around if you go to, sorry, Cuban, but if you go to the Epic Theater over here, usually at like 2, 3 a.m., what I used to do, I put in track mode and I have it set up with my calculations for drifting. I give more power to the back end. Oh my God, it drifts so beautifully. You'll see my tire marks, and they go around the back side. Literally, you can see my tire marks going like this. Every time I take someone there, I was like, yep, those are my marks. Like, I feel like I should autograph them or something. But then they would know who did it, right? But so, I mean, they don't care because, again, the car doesn't make any noise, and there's nobody here where I live. You got to understand, I live in the city where the horse that with the 80-1 odds that won the last Kentucky Derby, this is where he's from. You're talking about millionaires and billionaires. This area has now turned into a millionaire and billionaire area with the World Equestrian Center that opened up. Very prestigious, one of the most prestigious equestrian centers in the world. So these type of people, a lot of them now have, the people in the millionaire billionaires obviously have faster cars, but everybody in the community is usually asleep. There's rarely 1 or 2 cars at all because it's a very chilled area, minus me. You got to have that one asshole. I'm him. I'm sorry. You got to have him. Otherwise, the fucking equation, karma, is just not balanced. Yin and yang is not balanced without the one asshole making up for all the quietness. But like I said, they'll stop me. I was going like 140 something one time, and I know he attempted to clock me, I should say. And I saw him go like this, and he's just like, fuck that. He didn't even come after it. But usually, just perspective wise, when somebody has like a Tesla, Ferrari, a Bugatti, I'm going to tell you the reason why they usually don't ticket people with those type of vehicles is because they have money. And they know that what they have to do, in case you're unfamiliar, every time they write a ticket, they have to do about 2 to 4 hours of paperwork. It's a shit show. It's hours long of paperwork. They fucking hate it. This is why usually unless a state, which our state hasn't had one in over 10 years, they abolished the law that said the quotas, so that you have to write so many tickets a month, because what was happening is they were writing falsified tickets to hit their quota. So it was unrealistic, and it caused a lot of false tickets. So we got rid of it here in Florida over 10 years ago. But what happens with all of this is they have to spend hours writing the paperwork. And what happens is they spend hours doing the paperwork and all this shit, and they go in, and someone like me won't even show up. I will send my attorney in. It'll be on his day off that he has to now waste and deal with my attorney. And in the end, my attorney will figure out a way to get it thrown out. And what results, yes, I still pay court. Whenever this does happen, it hasn't happened in a long time, but when it happens, I end up paying court fees still. I just don't get points on my license. But you pay the court fee and it gets thrown out. So it's a waste of time to even do it to begin with. So just for perspective, I have a pretty clean record because of that. And I pay like $600, no, more than that, $7 with the discount. This is with the discount. Monthly it would be a lot more expensive, but with the discount, I know it's actually it's every 6 months for that car's about $800. And that's with a clean record, but and that's with the discount. But you have to remember, it's a luxury sports car. This is not a Honda Civic. This is not a Toyota. This is not a Ford. It's basically like insuring a Porsche or a Ferrari. I mean, it's up there. The reason why you get that price reduction, though, on a Tesla is because it has all the safety features, which is a great thing. So I know this is a long thing, but I have to kind of give the full equation here for everybody, the full conversation. So Tesla, what they do is they offer an insurance. They are also an insurance company, which reduces it. So let's say we have, I can show it to you right now in our app. If you go to the Tesla app, which controls everything, we can open our doors and everything on here. I have HomeLink in mine, which means I can open my garage door with this app as well. But if we go in here, oh God, okay, so you're gonna see, I'm gonna show it to you. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. So you can see I'm not bullshitting on how I drive. I drive that car like what I paid for it. I get my money's worth. I don't buy a luxury sports car not to drive it. So you have a safety score. Okay, and so the insurance uses the safety score. So if you have like a 90 or above, my insurance would probably be roughly like $100 a month. So it would reduce it by $200 technically, and I'm pretty sure they also do the 6-month thing. So you're talking about the equivalent of like $50, $75 a month for that fucking car. It's insane for a luxury car. Okay, so I drive my luxury sports car like a luxury sports car. So for me, it would be a little more expensive, but cheaper than my current. So with a score like this, and yes, that says 62, you can see all the fucking red. Just so you know, hard braking, aggressive turning, red. Just so we know. Like I said, I drift my car, bro. I race my car at nighttime. All right. So I'm not, see, my fucking proof is right here. Again, see that shit? It is what it is. I do it safely, though. I used to do it professionally speaking. I made money from doing it a long time ago. So, I mean, I do it safely. It's not like I go out during traffic or busy times or around schools doing it. I'm not, that's fucked up. But I go to empty park 2, 3 o'clock in the morning we're talking about. Cops here don't give a shit because I'm also the only one doing it. So they're like one person, I don't give a fuck. And I've never caused any problems, and I'll donate to the sheriff's office every year also. So I play the game, you got to play it correctly. But anyway, so with this score, from my understanding, because my friend does something similar, but his score is 78. He doesn't do it as hard as I do. He owns a lot of Porsches, so he uses it the way it's, he uses it for what he pays for. His, I believe, was around 76. Yeah, 76. But he's over in California, and he pays, if I remember correctly, I think he's paying a year. I think he's paying like $400 a year with the same score. So with that said, that's a big fucking deal. So now you're talking about they're also an insurance company, and they just got approved in Texas to do mining. They're also going to be a mining company. They are a fucking ETF without being an ETF. So not to own any Tesla, you'd have to be insane, in my opinion. Especially I told everybody when it was down to like even 180, 175, I said, buy it. You have to be fucking insane. My exact words were in the podcast a couple weeks ago, you'd have to be fucking insane not to buy Tesla between 175 and 180 right now. Because once the buyback happens with Tesla, which Elon talked about, a $5 to $10 billion buyback, that's going to offset the stock sell that he had to do, obviously. I told everybody the stock was going to go down because he has to sell shares to cover the collateral for the loan, for the acquisition, the Twitter acquisition. So when they do, I'm going to assume because of how low it is, let's just say they do a $10 billion buyback. That's going to offset the cost of this from Elon's sales, driving it back up to let's just say $270 a share. Plus some. So let's say it goes up to $290 a share next year. Now we're also going to add in the Cybertruck, the Semi. We're not even going to, because the Cybertruck comes out, so we got to add those sales. Semi's out, we got to add those sales for 2023. Jesus, there's my brain, 2013. The Roadster, no guarantee it comes out next year. We won't factor that in. The Optimus Prime, we're looking more 24, 25 area, 2024, 2025. So we won't include that. We're talking about a stock, and let's say the market gets a little better. Obviously, not a full bull market. You're looking at a $350 stock easily. What's it at right now? I think it went back up to 194 and some change, roughly, at closing today. You're doubling your money next year. Let's look at this from a bull market standpoint with all this going on. This is a non-bull market. We're looking at around 300 to 350. Bull market, that'll easily probably hit around 500, as I've said. Actually, I said that over at what's my website? DailyInvestorX.com. I wanted to call it Day Trading X for some reason. DailyInvestorX.com. I can remember everything. I just can't remember my own website. I'm on no sleep. I've been working on this website and everything else for days. I'm on like 2 hours of sleep in 3 days at this point. Kind of like your computer needs to reset to clear the cache. That's where I'm at right now. DailyInvestorX.com. The news, I talked about this slightly in that. You're easily, when a bull market returns with all this factored in. Now, again, you've got to factor in the buyback, $5 to $10 billion buyback, factor in the sales from the Cybertruck and the Semi, and a bull market, proper bull market. You're looking at almost a $500 stock, back up to $500 again. You're looking at by 2026, another split. 2025, or 2023, 2025, you're looking at another split. Probably another 3-to-1 split. I mean, it's insane. That's why I said by 2030, that's why I said if you own 100 shares of Tesla, I believe, in my opinion, theoretically speaking, based on the numbers I've ran on everything in my head, by 2030, if you owned 100 shares today, that will be almost $1 million by 2030. 100 shares, I want to say, could be anywhere between, it can be anywhere between a value of $700,000 to $1 million plus by 2030. 100 shares today, which of course, you're talking about what, 10 grand? 10 grand to turn 10 grand into even 100,000. That's 10 times your money. That's insane. It's like 1,000%. It's crazy not to own any Tesla. If you can't afford that, fine, man. But at least just put a couple shares, just for the fun of it, for the long term. Because let's say those couple shares hit another stock split. Let's say you got 5 shares. Now you got 15 shares in a couple of years. 15 shares. Let's say that goes up to 2027, another 1,000. Let's say there's another split, 2028. Okay, 15 shares. You're not 45 shares. Let's say that gets up to $500. Say it gets up to 1,000. So it gets up to 1,000. Now you're at 15. Now you're talking about 45 grand. You just turned like $1,000 into $45,000 in like 10 years time. Like that's insane. That percentage basis is insane. You're not going to take $1,000 and become a millionaire. It's not going to happen. You need something bigger, like Bitcoin for me. That's a unicorn to turn that $800 into a million plus. That was that's a fucking unicorn. But Tesla's the next big boy. Again, at this point, that's where you're at. Now, had I created this back in like 2012, I believe, is when I bought Tesla stock. Like when it was around 40, something like that. I'd have to go back and look. But I believe it was around $40 a share around there. Yeah, that's another fucking unicorn. That's $40 a share before a 5-to-1 split the first time, before a 3-to-1 split the second time. It was a great fucking, it still is a great investment. It's not going to be as caliber of a return from 40 to what would be the equivalent of over 10,000 if you adjust for all the stock splits. That's fucking massive. That's very similar to, not as big as Bitcoin, very similar. But that's what that is. And people fear that. Companies fear them. Pepsi loves him, man. Did you see the Pepsi CEO? Fucking loves Elon they give him the semis before everybody else. Fucking loves him. But anyways, that's my price. I don't usually put price predictions in these streams, but I did this time. Again, this podcast tonight will re-air for the elites and legends. Usually I don't open these podcasts to everybody. Usually they are only for the apes and higher. The wolf tier usually doesn't have access to this. So this was one of those rare occasions that I open it. I open it once a month for everyone. So if you would like to upgrade, so you can get these every week. We also have the day trade live stream that's hosted by Stat, which is also weekly. So there's 2 podcasts every week there as well. There's 25% off if you sign up over at dailyinvestorx.com. For annual memberships, you get 25% off if you use Holidays 2022. And all monthly memberships get 10% off if you use promo code Holidays 2022. That promo is going to end soon. But that's where we are, and it's absolutely massive. And I'm so fucking excited for this Cybertruck. Like, I'm just like, God, this thing is fucking amazing. And it's a boat. It's also a fucking boat. Like, I live in Florida, okay? We're very modern, but we are built on swampland. We have fucking lakes everywhere. Who the hell does it? I would love to. I just want to go in a lake and be like, what's up? Look at the gators and shit. What's up? Gators ain't gonna do shit. It's bulletproof. Fuck. Like this is the epitome of a vehicle, the perfect zombie and anti-zombie truck vehicle. It's also, realistically, if there's ever a war, the perfect vehicle because it also has the air conditioning system that has will filter out allegedly, because one of the S's do this too. What is it? Bioweapon mode? I think that's what it's called, bioweapon mode. And it actually will filter out all of biochemicals. So if there's a biochemical warfare, it'll filter that shit out. But the fact that the Cybertruck can go in the water, it has to be waterproof anyways. So the seals have to be perfect. So you're already talking about the perfection of a vehicle. It really is. And not to mention, I have hinted on this before, but I will tell you, Tesla's going to be releasing in a home HVAC air conditioning system. Yeah. So the AC units, they're going to create their own HVAC system so it reduces the amount of electric used. So for people who have solar, that's the biggest electrical usage device in the house is the AC system. So Tesla is also working on an HVAC home air conditioning system. And that will also have the bioweapon system built in, by the way. And for anybody who's ever been in a Tesla, you know how clean that air is. The cleanest cabin air in the automotive industry. And that will now become the cleanest household air in the entire industry. So they're also getting into the home AC. Is that a sector? It's not really a sector. What would that be considered? I think that's still considered, is it? Air conditioners? Well, anyways, they're getting involved. I'd have to see where air conditioning falls. I've never really thought about that. Air conditioning, what sector would they be in? But that's interesting. So now they're getting into that as well. What's the next step? Building homes? Real homes, not these. I know people keep lying about, this is a Tesla. Those mobile homes are not Tesla homes. They're called stackables or some shit. It has nothing to do with Tesla whatsoever. That's a lie. It's a PR lie. That's why you don't see it much anymore, because I think they had a cease and desist order sent to them. I don't know. I do know, but I don't know. They may or may not have had a cease or desist order sent to them. So that's why you don't see those commercials anymore claiming Tesla homes. So it gets really interesting. Where do they go from there? I'm telling you, homes. I'm telling you, they're going to build a fucking neighborhood. I'm fucking telling you, they're going to build a home. Mark my words. I believe that's one of the next things on their list. Outside of the tablet and smartphone, the mobile industry, which we won't get into. I've talked about that enough. You can just go listen to my commentary or read my news that's in dailyinvestorx.com, which the news channel is available to everybody. My comments are in there as well. So with all that said, if anybody has any questions tonight, feel free to ask them now. This is the portion of the show where we ask. You like my tree? This tree smells so good. It's a real tree that I take the kids to Santa. It's called Santa's Forest every year. And this one is 12 foot. My ceilings are, it's 11 point. Oh no, it is 12 foot because I had to trim it down. So my ceilings I have 12 foot high ceilings. You can see how high they are. But that is, the tree is almost exactly 12 foot. And I actually had to trim the bottom some to get it to fit. But yeah, oh my God, it smells so good. My mom and her boyfriend spent the night in the guest room because her boyfriend loves the smell of trees, and they have a fake tree. So they also gave us a wreath for free. Usually they only sell for like $25, real wreaths. Beautiful wreath. When you come to the house, the front door, it smells so fucking great. I love it. It's so nice. Kind of refreshes the home a bit. But with all that said, I just wanted to throw some bullshit in to give you guys time if you had any questions. Because I know some of you, for some reason, take a little while. So I guess there's no questions. Open chat. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there was a question. Does every EV... Sorry, Richmond. He's not even in here anymore. I'm sorry, bro. I missed it. Oh, he is in here. Richmond says, does every EV have the same hookup cord, just different charge times? Okay, so no, are you talking about the individual manufacturers? No, they don't. They all use different cables for the most part. So Tesla has a patented one. Do I have a way to show you? Yes, I do. We'll do this. Okay, so we'll do this. I'll just take you out to the car. So Tesla's was patented. He just opened. I'm ED squared. That's what my daughter does. I always tell my daughter it's not ED squared because she goes opened. I don't know why my computer's lagging. This is Tesla's. It's got a button, opens it. Button on here opens it, and it just, when it's connected, changes colors. And then if you come over here, you see the display. I gotta get the computer plugged in. It's gonna die. Okay, so it uses that system. My computer wants to die. It hates me. I gotta plug it in. So it uses that system, and it's actually considered the most energy efficient connector to charge any EV on the market. Where everybody else is using the J177 connectors, they are also using, if you give me a second, I'll help you out there. We're going to shift over here a minute so I can charge. I got to charge, man. Okay, there we go. Sorry. My computer was dying. That's what was going on. All right, so anyways, there are two other connectors that are used. This is the most energy efficient. The other two connectors, Tesla actually now sells a wall connector of the J177, I want to say. Trying to pull it up real quick. So companies like GM, like Chevy, they use the J177 J1772, right? Yeah. J1772 connector. And actually Tesla now sells a wall connector that has the J1772, because what they want to do is they're basically cornering the market on charging is what they're doing, because they're like, okay, you guys want to get in the market? Well, we're going to steal all the charging from you guys. So now they've created a wall connector to charge vehicles that use the J1772, which means you can charge at home 60 amps off of it as well. But also companies like Chevy, I'm trying to I can't remember the name of the CCS. That's it. The CCS Combo 1. It's a long name. Which looks kind of like a triangle, okay? And has a big connector and a dual connector. And that is actually used on cars like the Chevy Bolt. The Chevy Volt, though, with a V, used the J1772 connector. But those are the three. So the three used, and the CCS Combo 1 is the one that's used overseas. That's the main one, the CCS Combo 1. Here in America, they have, like I said, Chevy and GM. They use the CCS Combo 1. A lot of companies also use the J1772. But the Tesla's is the most energy efficient. Now, Tesla just opened the patent on this charging system, on theirs, so that other companies would use it. This way, being the most energy efficient, a lot of people will do it. And Elon wants to make it the standard. And the reason why he wants to make it the standard is because then he can get all the money from all these other EV owners on his charging stations. So whenever they use the superchargers or any of these wall connectors and shit, they're making money off of the entire industry. So it's actually a really brilliant move on his behalf. But it also then floods these superchargers, because he's going to open the because in case you're unfamiliar, you can't just plug a car in and be done. When you plug, like with the Tesla superchargers, when you plug it in, it pings the ECU and confirms information such as it being a Tesla, etc. So when he opened this patent, so let's say a car, like let's say Ford decides to use it. Oh, they will never use it. Let's say Porsche decides to use it. You take a Porsche to the supercharger, Tesla supercharger, and you plug it in. It's going to tell the system, no, this is a Porsche. So what happens is, unless it's unlocked for vehicles other than Tesla, you won't be able to charge with it. But a lot of them, like in Alaska and some other places, they've unlocked them. Here in Florida, it would be a death sentence, because they're already full here in Florida every time you go. They're completely packed because tons of people have Teslas here. So it would be a death sentence. It's already completely packed with Tesla. So to open it up to other manufacturers here in Florida would be death. No, you would never be able to get in line. There is a solution that I came up with in terms of that. So let's say the station is full, or let's say there's 15 stations and 12 of them are used. Well, at that point, anything over 10 should be locked off to other manufacturers. And any time that there are 10 or less than 10 vehicles, then open it up for the other vehicles. That's how I would go about it, because I would want to make sure there's priority for the Teslas over other manufacturers, and it would drive more people to buy the Tesla, because then they would all get used to, unless that's what he's doing, it's possible. Because then when you have all these people with EVs sitting in these fucking lines because they're all using the connector, one connector as the standard, and they can no longer use because you got to remember, he unlocked it to use it for the car, but he did not unlock the patent to be able to charge, to be able to supercharge. So basically, the brilliance behind this is that anybody who uses it, like let's say Porsche uses it, they can't create their own supercharger. Can't use it for that, but they can use it for other things. So it gets really interesting there. But in that sense, you would have to be able to do something like that, because then people are like, oh, fuck this line. I'm just going to get a Tesla. I don't want to sit in this line anymore. And it would drive more people over, is how I view it. But how he's going to do it, that's where the gray area gets in. It gets really weird when you start looking at those variables. I give you 6 different scenarios on pros and cons on that, but we're not going to get into all that shit. But as far as that's concerned, that's pretty much what it is. So yeah, there's 3 main connectors. Europe uses the CCS1. Here in America, some companies use it. I don't understand why, but they do. Like Chevy uses it now. They were using the J1772. The J1772 is used the most, but the Walmart chargers that they have there for 240 volts are oddly enough, I don't understand. Walmart's so stupid. I never go to Walmart anyways. It's a horrible store. They have their charging stations here that they started incorporating into the parking lot, and they use the CCS Combo 1. But like I said, the CCS Combo 1 is mainly Europe and Chevy. I don't understand. They should have, what is it? What the hell? All the companies outside, the third-party companies like ChargePoint, they use J1772s. But also my car, I'm not going to go get it, but my car came with a J1772 adapter. So if I can't find if I need a charge, like if I'm at Disney, they have J1772s because it's ChargePoint. They don't have the Tesla connector. So I use the adapter and charge, and I get to park up front at Disney. How fucking awesome is that? Like literally, like here's the gate. Here's the supercharging. It's actually no bullshit. The supercharging at half the parks at Disney, half of them, because if you go to one of them, the handicap is closer at Epcot than the superchargers. But everywhere else, the supercharging is closer than the handicap parking. So it's actually pretty interesting when it comes to all that. But why they're using the CCS Combo 1 is beyond me. It doesn't make sense. It should just be the J1772 or just put a Tesla. But most people who have Teslas don't go to Walmart. We go to Target. We do. I mean, I drive past a Walmart and I never see Teslas. Like maybe they do. I'm not trying to be a dick. Maybe they do, but it's like when I go to Target, maybe it's because I go to Target, I see them. But when I do go to Target, rarely ever go to Target. It has to be like an emergency. I see some Teslas there. So if it was gonna be Target, I would assume that they would do Teslas, and I would have assumed they would have done the J1772 for Walmart. But that's just what they chose. I don't know. But I think the more we see it, because he just opened the patents recently, I think the CCS Combo 1 is definitely going to be phased out. It's this massive, I'm not even joking, like it's like this big fucking thing like this. It's bulky, ugly thing. It's disgusting. The J1772 is more like that. And then obviously the Tesla's like this. And the Tesla charges better than both of them. It's more efficient. So I could see it being incorporated more, but I could also see them not wanting to allow Tesla to have control over the charging, even if it's more efficient. And this is one of the reasons why these companies can't charge fast, because they're using the CCS Combo 1, they're using the J1772, and they're not as fast. So the fastest charge point system takes me like 6 hours. It's the equivalent of what I can charge at home. Their big massive machine is what I do at home. Seriously? I mean, like the J1772, that's why it's not energy efficient. Same thing with the CCS Combo 1, it's not energy efficient. The superchargers, that's why with Tesla, we're down to 10 minutes with the version 4 superchargers that are coming. So hopefully that long-winded answer gave you insight to what you were asking. There's this, when you ask a question, I don't just like to give simplistic answers. I like to explain it in detail, because if I explain it in detail and give you the foundation, you'll truly understand everything involved in it. And it's not just like, oh, there's two, J1772 and CCS1 combo. And you're like, what the fuck? So I try to be more in depth. Thorough explanation, thank you, and very smart. On Musk, he's always 10. That's why he's always 10 years ahead, because he's 10 steps ahead. Exactly. I actually would love to play a game of chess with him. I gotta be honest with you. People always say, "Oh, I'd like to take him to the bar." I don't even think why. I want to play a game of chess. You could learn a lot more from somebody playing chess. I think he's very strategic. I like strategic people. Everything is chess. So with all that said, hopefully, if there's any other questions, this would be the time to ask. I know the website, I'm still working on a few things. It's coming along. We're adding more to it. Like I said, I think everybody in here is either a lifetime member or they are a member over there. But if you're not, I highly suggest it. Not only do you get a discount, but you're going to get a lot more perks in 2023. There's so much more I'm adding to it. Lifetime members, I hired somebody to create the Web3 part of the website. And Web3 means, the NFT connect button, essentially, layman terms. So you can connect to it if you have the NFT, connect your wallet, and you'll have access to the website. So don't worry about that. It's in the works. It just takes a lot longer than the website. As you see, the website's very basic. And you see every day I'm adding more to it. Every week there's more to it because it's being built up. But I wanted to do it right before the end of the month so everybody could switch over before they got charged again, and also offer the holiday discount with it. I thought that was kind of a nicer way of transitioning people to a better world, a world where I have full control over and can offer better and more perks and can actually help everybody with their billing issues should they have any. So with all that said, I also added PayPal as a way to check out as well. I know everybody's anti-PayPal, but the way I see it is if they fine me for something I say, they're in violation of my freedom of speech, and that's where my attorney comes in, and I will own PayPal by next summer should they choose to do something like that. Hey, it's a strategic move. I challenge them. But I don't say that because then it looks like I have intent to get them to do something. It came out of nowhere to me. What the hell, bro? They're fining me for my speech? Oh, I never knew that would have been a thing in a million years. Who would have thought? So hopefully they do. I hope they do. I can fix PayPal. We can make PayPal great again. PayPal was great. It's crap now. I can return it to its glory. I'm 100% certain. But with all that said, again, if there's no more questions, thank you everybody who is a member. If you're not a member of the website, again, you can get 25% off the annual memberships over at Daily Investor X, like the X-Men, .com. 25% off the annual memberships and 10% off the monthly memberships by using the promo code HOLIDAYS, plural with an S, HOLIDAYS 2022. Thank you for everybody for your support. And I hope you guys are making money and learning, at the very least, learning something. I know there's a lot of people making money in here. That's why they're still here. And let's expand on this. Also, by joining the website Daily Investor X, you're also given a referral code. Yes, that's right. And every time you sign somebody up, you get paid. Yeah, that's right. I'm paying people for that as well. I mean, I was kind of looking for ways, as I've said throughout this year, I was trying to think of ways for people to earn money on the web as part of this group as well. So what I did was I created the NFT, and I'm going to give them airdrops randomly. This is the first one. I'm falling a little bit behind on the airdrop because I needed to create the website to create Web3 also so that I can get their addresses to send them their airdrop, their gifts. And also now you have the affiliate program, which will also help you earn money. So every time you bring somebody into the group and they pay, you make money. I was trying to create a platform now, not just to where you can make money from stock and crypto and learn investing, but also make money in other aspects as well. Kind of like employing people, paying people without the employment aspect, which is what everybody wants. People want to get paid to do nothing. Well, here you go. You pay to join, and then you share a link and you get paid. I don't know how much more to help you. Trying to come up with ways for you guys to earn money. So with all that said, thank you again for all your support. I hope you guys enjoy the group. And as always, I will see you next week. Take care.